What's the game that you play? As I think back to my life, I look at the games that I was playing, and we get older and we play games as a kid, and as we get older, we are still playing the same games. We just hide them behind reality, and we act as if we aren't the one playing the game. We act as if it's reality. We act as if it's real. And I think back to the game that I've played for 15 years, for 12 years, 15 years, something like that. And and I live within this narrative of my life. And the narrative says that for me, right, I have roles. And so, I'm the hero, and as the stories go, right, we're always generally the hero in some form. And yet I'm oppressed, and I have a persecutor, and a persecutor that I'm seeking the approval of. And so, if I look at that, I mean, for me, the person that I had put into that role was my brother, and it wasn't just a brother. It's a brother that becomes a father figure in a way, and I'm seeking his approval, and yet he's the one oppressing me. And we can always say, like, oh, here's the reality of it. There's some reality of the situation where some of that was objectively true, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is what's the narrative I'm living in and what's the game that I'm playing. And for me, I was playing this game where I was oppressed, and I was fighting for myself to earn validation, to earn being good enough, to earn going away from being weak, to earn a lot of different things in that realm, and a lot of different flavors of that. I was running away from a limiting belief of I am bad, and hustling to earn worth. And there's a lecture and a book, but in the lecture, The Finite and Infinite Games by James Carse, he says something. He says, like, I am not what I think they think I am. So I am not what I think they think I am. And we leave out that part in the middle. I am not what I think they think I am. And we just say, well, they think I'm weak, and they think I'm not good enough, and they think this, and I'm going to show them that that's not the case. And then we push against that, and we fight. And the more we fight for earning worth, the more it solidifies our lack of worth. By fighting for it, it presupposes and confirms that that belief is true. And even if I could get to a point of convincing the other person of this thing, they generally aren't even aware of it. Like, they are in their own world. They are the hero of their own story, or the main character, maybe a better way to put it. And they are living their own narrative and playing their own game. And we're just a sideline character in their game, and a sideline character in their narrative. And yet for us, or for me, right, I'm fighting this fight of earning my worth. And in a way that, by fighting, the more aggressively I fight, the more I entrench this belief of not being good enough. And the oddity of the situation is it's that it's an unwinnable game. Like, I'm playing this game of, if I do all of these things, then I'll earn worth. But it's not so conscious. I'm not sitting here saying, well, if I do, X, Y, and Z, then I'll feel worthy. It's a little more surface than that. And yet it is still the same of, like, okay, I don't exactly know what I'm seeking, but it is some sort of feeling internally. and I look at that feeling and I say, okay, what are the things that I want to accomplish? And I go out and seek those as goals. And the more of those I accomplish, the more I realize they're not changing something inside of me. And so if we look at people that go throughout life and they accomplish more of these goals, then, myself included, we're getting further and further away. We're getting more entrenched in these beliefs of, being unfixable or unworthy or bad, because the more we say, we don't consciously do it, but yet it's more like, if I can accomplish this external thing, that will change this feeling of being bad. And so the more I do things and accomplish them externally and don't get the feeling of bad to go away, that is going to further entrench this feeling of being bad. And it's going to further entrench this internal thing. And it gets to a point of futility where it's like, well, what's the point? Why try? Why do anything? If I can't solve this internal thing, then I must be broken. And it does, a lot of times it comes back to this thing of like, either I'm broken or the world's broken. And either one of those is not a solvable thing. And just like me proving to my brother that I'm good enough or I'm not bad is never going to work, because I'm actually the one I'm trying to convince through him. I'm pushing that out onto him and saying, if I can convince him, then I'll be worthy. And when I'm fighting that fight, who's the enemy? He is, right? Or whoever it is that's put in that role is the person who is the enemy that we're seeking to prove this thing to or show this thing to. And so it just further entrenches this limiting belief of being bad or not being good enough. And the whole time we're attempting to convince a proxy, and it doesn't even matter if they are convinced or not. And again, a lot of this is I've come to by a lot of reflection and a lot of work and all sorts of inner work, because we generally don't feel and see and sense the narrative underneath. We sense this game that we're playing on top. And yet we don't look at it as a game. We sense it like, this is our life and this is reality and this is real and this person feels that way and they think this of me. And it's not true. And even if it were true, it doesn't matter. Imagine this. If you can be in a place where someone thinks something of you, like you go into a room and everyone in there was just talking terribly about you. And this comes from Anthony DeBello, kind of a version of it. But, you go in and everyone has been talking terribly about you. And you come in and you believe that all they've done is talk good about you. Or someone says, we've been talking good about you. You're going to feel good about that. You're not going to feel attacked, right? So even if they were thinking bad things about you and you thought they weren't, your experience is totally fine. If they were all giving you compliments, and then you come in and you think, oh, they're just talking about how bad I am or how bad my hair looks or how bad, I sound right now when I talk in the group, then you're going to have that experience. So what's actually happening in the situation doesn't really matter. I mean, it's the same thing with rejection. If someone rejects you, right? They give you the stimuli of rejection. If you don't internally reject yourself, then you can't be rejected, because it's a do with process. It's a permission-based process. So if you don't reject yourself as they're rejecting you, then it doesn't land. And that's what happens a lot in reality in general, is this internal, it's generally, it's fascinating because it's negative based, meaning you can be saying something good about me and I'll feel like you're saying something bad, and then I'll take it negatively. And if we, a lot of times we have those self filters of negative towards self, and they're diminishing for us. And so objective reality can't fight that. And it's not very convincing, even when it does. And so it's like, well, even though this happened, this is still the case because I'm still running this narrative, because I'm still this character, because I still have a persecutor. And, in that narrative, one of the things for me that I realized is if I don't resolve the story, if I don't resolve this game that I'm playing to convince someone else as a proxy for myself, right? Convince them to then convince me that I'm good enough, then I lose this game. I get stuck in it. If I don't deconstruct the game, and that person I get away from, or I change the roles, then whoever's placed in that role, now someone else replaces them. And if I'm living this narrative where I've got a persecutor and that persecutor's there to remind me that I'm not good enough, then somebody else will come in and play that role instead. And then it will become more of a generalization of the world's not safe and the world thinks I'm not good enough and the world thinks I'm bad. And it was never the world in the first place. The world, frankly, doesn't care. And they don't, I mean, really doesn't care. I mean, if anything, it's neutrality. And yet I'm starting then to convince myself if it's not my brother, if somebody else comes in and now they're the persecutor and somebody else comes in and they're the persecutor, all I will see and think is, okay, this person was a persecutor and this person, everyone's attacking me, everyone's coming to persecute me. And if we can't deconstruct that narrative that we live in, then we will just keep replacing that person and we will make no progress on setting ourselves free from the cage which we constructed and then convinced ourselves that someone else put us in it. And we fight so hard to get other people to let us out of this cage when they don't have the key. And we've had it with us the entire time. And we cannot get out of it because we're fighting against it in the wrong place. And it's not even a fight that needs to happen. It's an internal going within to realize what is that part of us that brought these beliefs up as a form of protection. Like what is the thing that brought these beliefs up, and what do I gain when I feel like I'm bad? What does that protect me from? Maybe it has kept me out of situations that would be dangerous to me when I'm very little, or maybe it protects my connection with my caregiver at the time because either I don't trust them or I just believe that I'm bad. And that's much more protecting because it's not survival to not have a caregiver. And that is what the unconscious mind has done to preserve us at the time. And then we take that and we turn that into this game that we're playing, this narrative that we're living in for sometimes the rest of our entire life. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like we can set ourselves free, and it's not in moving pieces around the board on a game that, like, external games matter in a fashion, but they don't matter internally in a lot of ways for our experience. That is solved directly. And so if we're playing this game to confirm, to fight against the confirmation of our lack of worth or being bad or being not enough or whatever, being unlovable, then we're fighting and playing an unwinnable game. And because if we win the external game, that is the moment, if we really win the game that we were certain was going to solve it, or multiple versions of it, that is when the moment of utter defeat comes in.